And a TGIF, everyone. Welcome into the First Call podcast. We're going to handicap some races as we do each and every Friday alongside Jeff Siegel. I'm Jeremy Plonk, representing First Bet and Express Bet. Jeff, closing weekend at Del Mar. I know you've been stressing and working hard making the morning line. I got to imagine shoes off, feet up after this weekend for you coming up, right?
I've been looking forward to this final weekend. I think the second day of the meeting. I knew it was going to be challenging. And Sunday's card, for example, at Del Mar, which is a great card. I mean, just a fantastic card. I think there are 11 races, and I think the average field size is something like 10 or 11, with a bunch of also eligible. So that's the way to go out, I guess. Good challenging card, and enjoy it while you can, because we don't get that kind of play usually out here in California. You got to go to Saratoga, or in this case, Colonial Downs. We've got good racing. Kentucky Downs, obviously big fields there. So, but it's a good gambling weekend, and some good important races and some really important performances by horses that could easily be favorites on Breeders' Cup Day. So let's dig in and see if we can pick some winners here.
Massive day at Kentucky Downs in terms of purse money. They've got 6 stakes races. We'll handicap a couple of those. Let you know the schedule in just a bit. Little weather update because we're talking turf. It's Virginia Derby Day at Colonial Downs in Greater Richmond, New Kent, Virginia. Forecast for Saturday for those turf races at Colonial Downs, 80 degrees. 30% chance of scattered showers. So weather looks okay. I think we'll be in good shape there. And at Kentucky Downs, sunny and 75. It's supposed to be 90 and raining today in the greater Nashville area, but we're going to get a good day in Franklin, Kentucky on Saturday. The weather's going to break with nice temperatures, sunny, 75 degrees. The forecast for tomorrow at Kentucky Downs, so it should be a good one. For those of you watching on YouTube and on X, be sure to like this, share it out, send comments, help us grow our audience for the First Call podcast and all the things we do with First Bet and Express Bet. And for the benefit of those of you listening on our traditional audio channels, here are the races Jeff and I are about to handicap over the next 40 minutes or so. At Kentucky Downs, 6 big stakes races. As we mentioned, we will handicap 2 of them. Race 9, the Franklin Simpson Stakes, and race 11, the Ainsworth Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint. Then we go to Colonial Downs on Virginia Derby Day. 6 stakes races also there in Virginia. We'll handicap the Oaks and the Derby. They go as races 9 and 10 back-to-back on the card. Saturday at Del Mar, a trio of stakes races, a lot of good turf action there. Del Mar Debutante for the 2-year-old fillies on the dirt, but then we'll look at the Del Mar Juvenile fillies on the grass, and then we'll also take a look at the John C. Mabee. That is one of the top races in the country each and every year in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf Division. Then we'll go to Del Mar for a special Sunday edition. Our 8th and final stakes to handicap on the card will be the Del Mar Futurity, always the springboard to the future. We will see if we have a Breeders' Cup juvenile contender coming out of that one this year. Again, Breeders' Cup coming up first weekend in November at Del Mar. So these local prep races, no matter which division you're talking about, take on additional interest and intrigue. Handicapping tournaments this weekend, we really want to direct you to Sunday, where there's the $300 California Crown Betting Challenge feeder. All those are Del Mar races. If you win there and qualify, get one of the seats towards the California Crown Betting Challenge. It's going to be one of the richest and most lucrative handicapping tournaments in the country this year, coming up in about 4 weeks' time at Santa Anita at the end of the month. So be sure to try to qualify through that feeder tournament for $300 entry on Sunday at Del Mar, the California Crown Betting Challenge. Some other good races around the country and around the world. We'll talk about those as well as we get through the edition of this podcast. We're even going to talk a little Korean racing coming up. You get 2 Breeders' Cup winning your in races in Korea coming up at Seoul Racetrack late Saturday night into Sunday morning. And we've got a Bet 50 Get 10 promotion with First Bet and Express Bet for those races from Korea this weekend. So be sure to try to take advantage of that. Okay, Jeff, let's talk Kentucky Downs again. Sunny, 75 degrees, the forecast for Saturday. 6 stakes races. There are $2 million races on the card, like the Kentucky Turf Cup, the Mint Millions, and we're not even going to touch them. You've got some other races that you've got in your spotlight Saturday at Kentucky Downs. Let's start with race number 9. This is the Franklin Simpson Stakes, Grade 1, $2 million. I have no idea how this race was upgraded to a Grade 1 by the North American Graded Stakes Committee. I know it's a lot of money, but it's a 3-year-old restricted turf sprint. And it doesn't have a stellar history. Let's talk about this field from a gambling standpoint. Grade 1 or not, $2 million is a lot of money, and you deem this one a good betting chance.
Well, first of all, I think you're underselling this race. Most people who own and breed horses look forward, and this is one of their most favorite races. The Aristocrat Franklin Simpson Grade 1. That makes their racing career.
If you stick Aristocrat in the front of a name of a race, it doesn't make it any more prestigious.
I know, but it's a good gambling race. I'm being facetious, and I wish I had a horse that was eligible to run in it. I can tell you that. Yes. Maybe I should go to Keeneland next week and buy a turf sprinter and see if I can make the race. There is a gamble here, I think, Jeremy, at 8-1 on the morning line, number 8 on your program. His name was Please Advise. And this is one of my favorite angles. Horses going back in distance or surface for the first time since they were successful after a string of races that were out of their element. Please Advise has been routing for a long time, Yeah. But if you go back and look at his form, you say to yourself, why haven't they sprinted him more? I mean, he won his first start sprinting on grass at Belmont Park as a 2-year-old. And then all of a sudden, after a few races, they're routing him and going a mile and turning him. And, the last time at Saratoga, he ran in a race called the Hall of Fame, and he dropped back. And, as a late running sprinter, you like to settle and make one late kick.
Sure.
Going a mile in that race, they went the first half in 49-1, the second half in 36-1. How the heck's he going to catch up, But when you go short, you get pace to run at. And now dropping back to 6.5 and retaining Flavien Prat, which I think is big for George Weaver, I think Please Advise is going to really run well. He's going to settle early. He's got a long run in from the top of the stretch to the wire. He's going to be able to produce that late kick that I think he really wants to do. And I think on pure form, he's as good as anything in the race. Things have to go his way.
Right.
But number 8, Please Advise, I think could be a good gamble if you can get 8-1. And any horse ridden by Flavien Prat probably is worth 8-1, no matter what he is or who he is.
He was just a dime short at 8-1, 7.9-1 when he won his last turf sprint bid that you had mentioned. Let's go back and take a look at that one. It was we called this one the Atlantic Beach Stakes last year in New York.
Apollo 10 just waiting for that seam, and there it is now into the 3 path, but it's Split Strike who comes calling for the lead. Works For Me is still right in there, and now there's clear running room. Apollo 10 with every shot down the center of the course and flying on his Irish Jet from way out of it. Also, Please Advise, it still Works For Me, but for how long is about to be swarmed? Works For Me slipping out to the outside, Please Advise, and up on the outside, Irish Jet. 3 noses down the line, Please Advise. Please Advise gets up there.
If that kind of run could really work at Kentucky Downs, a long stretch and being able to weave in and out of horses and finish with a sustained run like that, you might be onto something there with Please Advise. Pratt's having just a dream summer. What do you win? 17 stakes races, 18 stakes races, something like that at Saratoga. A couple other jockey notes I want to throw at you in this race. How's your attitude on the outside? Is a horse ridden by Frankie Dettori. Dettori having an outstanding meet this year at Kentucky Downs. In fact, he's leading the way. Frankie Dettori's got 5 wins at the meet from just 23 mounts, so just a super run from Frankie Dettori in the saddle. One jockey not riding so well this meet at Kentucky Downs is Joel Rosario. We're used to seeing him do much better than he has. He's 0 for 21 at the meet through what I think 4 days of racing. Mike Maker's got Save the Trees in this race. Maker, the top trainer, active trainer at Kentucky Downs all time. He's 0 for the meet as well. I don't know how you go through a meet with Mike Maker at 0 for 24 so far at Kentucky Downs, but eventually at some point he probably breaks through. Look, if Jeff's pick in this race doesn't get it done, Please Advise. You got a chance to get some of your money back with a great promo we have with First Bet and Express Bet with Kentucky Downs. Every day of the meet, there are 3 races at Kentucky Downs that are deemed $10 money back special races. That means if your win bet finishes second or third in those races, you get up to $10 of your bet back in wagering credit. So you got a little bit of cushion in race number 9 on Saturday. The money back special races Saturday at Kentucky Downs with First Bet and Express Bet will be races 6, 9, and 11. Race number 11 is where we go next. It's the Ainsworth Turf Sprint, $2 million purse here. This is a grade 2. However, we talked about the Franklin Simpson not being a grade 1 turf sprint. This one is a grade 2 turf sprint, and I guarantee you it's a grade 1 turf sprint. It's got the top turf sprinter in the country in it. It's got a veteran, a millionaire like your jockey in here. You've got one timer. You've got grooms all business. You've got a really good looking turf sprint in here. No Balls, the horse who, of course, won last year's Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. And then we're not even talking about the world record holder to this point, Cogburn. So, Jeff, this truly is a grade 1. I don't care if they call it a grade 2, but at $2 million, it'll spend the same.
I mean, how much of a grade 1 does it have to be with Kadem in the race? All he did was win a Group 1 at Royal Ascot this year.
Yes.
Other than that, I don't know what the deal is. But regardless of the grade, a race like this that offers $2 million is going to get the big horses because they don't, especially grass sprinters, they don't really have an opportunity to run for money like this. And I don't care if it's a grade 1, a non-graded. $2 million is $2 million. The check will clear, I'm pretty sure, if you win it. So, but it's interesting. Cogburn actually had a run here last year and actually got beat here. So I don't know. I mean, this was the same race that he's going to try to win this year. He may very easily be better now than he was then. He still ran well in that race, although he didn't win. But those last 2 races were fantastic. Obviously, one at Churchill and one at Saratoga. And in both races, he was allowed to like barrel along and show his intense speed, and he just kept rolling. I don't know. You watched more races at Kentucky Downs than I have. Can you do that on this course, or do you have to grab a whole little bit, just a little? Otherwise, you pay the price. I don't know. You tell me.
No, I mean, I think speed's good on a lot of days. A lot of it is weather dependent. You know, this course will get a little hard and firm, and other times, you know, with given the ground can be a completely different course. So it's very European. We talk about it, and it's very European in that the course conditions really impact the racing like they do overseas. You know, you talk about some trainers just, you know, will just say this horse will not run in this kind of going overseas. Right. I think you get a little bit of that at Kentucky Downs. The question with Cogburn is he was supposed to run at Saratoga, as you recall. He was entered, I believe, it was the Troy Stakes, and that race came off the turf. And I was speculating for timing for the Breeders' Cup, maybe they just go ahead and run because the horse had some decent dirt for him. And you're like, no, keep this horse on the grass and do what you do and wait for the big race at Kentucky Downs. So he waited another 3-4 weeks from that race at Saratoga, and now he gets a chance to run for the $2 million purse. And this is a more lucrative race than the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, higher purse money than even the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. So this is a very important race for him to win. Cogburn at his best is just the best in the country right now this year. Let's go back to his Jaipur victory, world record time. You can't see this one enough. He was just sensational that day in New York.
8 lengths to make up, rounding the far turn. In front of No Name Mets, Mischief Magic. They went 21-1 for the opening quarter, and Thin White Duke is at the back of the field. They have to catch Cogburn, who turns for home loaded with a 3-length advantage. He's running powerfully. Coppola is racing in second. A wall of horses trying to get through, including Star of Mystery. And on the outside, Arzak is finding his best stride. Center of the course, Mischief Magic, but Cogburn dominates the Jaipur, wins by 4.5. It's a 3-way photo for second, including.
So if Cogburn runs back to that, maybe they're running for second, but this is a different kind of race, different kind of course. And like you said, he's been beaten here before. He's only had the 2 starts this year. So it's not like he's, you know, put together this long string resume that tells you he's just going to keep knocking everybody out that they put in front of him, right? He's had the 2 starts. He won beautifully on Derby Day in the Churchill Downs Turf Sprint, and then came back and won that one in the Jaipur. Horses like Gear Jockey, I can't tell you how many times I've chased and bet him over the years. He's had a good career, 5 for 25, including 2 wins, and he won this race back in 2021. He'll try to win it now as a 7-year-old, but he likes Kentucky Downs. It'd be no shock if he runs a good one. And like you said, Kadem won the upset in the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Stakes, going 6 furlongs during the Royal Ascot meet. Hasn't had any success in the 2 follow-up subsequent starts since then. But this will kind of be a little different test for the Charlotte Hills trainee coming over to the U.S. and not taking on the top turf sprinters in England and France, where you have to figure they're a little bit stronger over there, even at the shorter distances.
You know, it's interesting that after he won that Group 1 at Royal Ascot, he comes back and runs twice. He won it out, didn't run well. And he was 25-1 and 22-1 in that race. So maybe the punters over there didn't believe it.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't either. I'll tell you the horse that I've definitely used in the 2-hole, assuming that the favorite wins, is Witty. He didn't win that often, but boy, he runs second and third a lot, and he'll be running on late. This is what he wants to do, and he's in form. He doesn't get there, and I don't think he's going to get here, but he certainly could complete the exacta at 20-1 on the morning line if you like the favorite, who should take care of everything that is, that he's going to burn up on the lead or near the lead, and the deep closer could be there to pick up the pieces. And Woody is always a candidate to do just that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of deep closers at Kentucky Downs, especially these kind of distances. But for underneath and get a part of it, yeah, that PA bred Witty, he is as honest as they come. And he just kind of runs to the level of the competition, If he's running against state breds or local horses in the Mid-Atlantic, or if he steps up to the big ranks, he just runs his race and likes to be in the mix. So he's a cool one to watch. Maybe that's your exacta in there, as you've got Cogburn on top of Witty in the turf sprint at Kentucky Downs. We now switch venues to Virginia Derby Day at Colonial Downs. Colonial Downs has 6 stakes races, as we mentioned. 80 degrees, the forecasted high, 30% chance of scattered showers throughout the day at Colonial Downs on Saturday. They will run on turf in the Virginia Oaks and the Virginia Derby. Those are our 2 races that we will handicap on this program. 1 mile and an eighth for race number 9 on the card. It's the Virginia Oaks. If it's an Oaks, it's 3-year-old fillies, of course. Jeff, who do you like in this group?
Well, looking at the pedigrees here, and I didn't have to go too far down the line in this race. I started with number 1 and worked my way down. But Encore Commentator is by Uncle Mo, who's my second favorite sire, and Out of America by Curlin, who's my first favorite.
I was going to say, when you said your second favorite sire, the Curlin light came on.
Oh, Curlin stands out. But I will say this, I'm not alone on that. I'm not unique. But anyway, so here's a lightly raced filly by Uncle Mo. She wins first time out, going a distance to ground at Laurel, which is not the easiest task to do. I don't care where you're doing it from, but she came from off the pace, roared home, came against slow fractions, and still won going away. Comes back in a race, an allowance race, and she gets beat ahead, runs out of room, was given way too much to do, and must have come home with 46 and change. And then she comes back in an allowance race. It's off the turf, and Uncle Mo's, they run on anything. So I think Brittany Russell said, well, whatever, just leave her in there, And she wins off by herself. Again, powerful. I love the fact that the numbers are rising. Now this is a tougher task. She looks like she's really going to like 1 mile and an eighth. It's a good, solid field. No world beaters in it. And I'm looking for a progressive filly, and she is progressive. In good hands, 6-1 in the morning line. Maybe she's going to have to step forward and produce a better race. Why wouldn't she? So I like number 4 on-court commentator at 6-1 to pull off a mild surprise in the Virginia Oaks.
It'll be her stakes debut. Maybe you're not familiar with her around the country, so let's give you a chance to check out her last race. An allowance company, Dave Rodman on the call in Maryland.
Still an on-court commentator, Major Houlihan, head-to-head at the top of the lane. 5,2 back in third. Viennese Wall still plenty to do on the inside. They're in upper stretch now. On-court commentator opening up, has the stamina. 2.5, almost 3 lengths on Major Houlihan, well clear of the others. Viennese Waltz has just picked up third position as they're close to home. On court commentator. It's by 5 at the finish under Jevian Toledo.
Give you another one to watch here in the Virginia Oaks, Jeff. Right next door, on-court commentators, the 4, the 5, Distorted Doro. Anytime you get these Medaglia Doro 3-year-old fillies, you just think back through history and how many great ones there have been. Rachel Alexandria, of course, the greatest of the great amongst those. But this filly was really good in terms of being up near the pace. There's not a lot of speed in here. She won on the turf her first 2 for Mike Stidham. Last time out, ran in an off-the-turf race. And like you said, just, keep on pattern, run, and get that race under her belt. When she was third in Laurel Searching Stakes around 1 turn, that's nothing like what she's going to have here at 1 mile and an eighth around 2. But there's no speed in the 1, 2, 3, 4 paths. She's in the 5-hole. I think Ben Curtis is riding exceptionally well this meet at Kentucky Down or at Colonial Downs. I think he can get a wonderful trip here. I expect Distorted D'Oro to be a major part of here. You've got on-court commentator. Let's hook up a little 4-5 in here and see if we can't cash in the Virginia Oaks. Virginia Derby is race number 10 on the card. You could also look at daily doubles between the Oaks and the Derby, back-to-back races. Virginia Derby is grade 3, mile and an eighth, $500,000 purse. This is the last time we're going to see the Virginia Derby in this form, right? Being a turf race later in the year. It was announced a couple weeks ago the Virginia Derby next year will be a Kentucky Derby points prep running mid-March. It's going to kind of be in no man's land in terms of the spacing between that race and the Kentucky Derby, but they will have a new Derby prep at Colonial Downs. Of course, CDI, Churchill Downs Incorporated, part of the mix there, getting a local prep race from one of their sister tracks now to kind of go along with the Fairgrounds Path and the Louisiana Derby. We'll see what kind of horses they get in the spring, Jeff, to run this race on dirt. But as far as a turf race, they're kind of in their own little, genre this time of year with Saratoga closed, but Saratoga did have a couple races for the 3-year-olds on turf already. And of course, we saw the Secretariat run already at Colonial this meet on the Arlington Million card. So this race, even though it's $500,000 and they're kind of on their own, there's not a lot of good 3-year-old turf colts still out there around to run in. And this is a pretty wide open bunch, I think.
I don't know why there aren't more Euros in here. In fact, there aren't any. So, I mean, it's just a plane ride, for crying out loud.
Right.
There's so much money to be offered here. And let's face it, these are solid horses. They're not great. They're going to be allowance. Most of them will be allowance or high price claimers next year when the dust settle and they turn 4 and join the real world. But in handicapping this race, if I had to pick a name out of a hat and make a case for it, I probably could find something. So that's that kind of a race. I looked at number 12, and that is Zavero. This is a Cherie DeVaux Oscar Performance Gold. And in looking at his form, one thing I noticed about him is that he only runs well when he can be in the fray. He doesn't like to come from way back.
Right.
And I think when you go a mile and an eighth like this, as opposed to the mile and middle distance races that he's been trying when they kind of get away from him, I think this is the kind of race that he can be right up in the first flight if they want him, because most jocks aren't going to be going a mile and eighth on grass. So get him out of the gate. 2 races back at Churchill, he was pressing the pace. He won nicely, going away. He was right there. Last time out in the Hall of Fame, he was well bad. He was 4-1, but again, they went 49-1, finished out in 36-1. So went the first half in 49-1, second half in 47 flat. And he's like dead last. I mean, he can't do that, Yeah. So going a mile and an eighth, get him out of the gate, make the running or be right up in the fray. The pace will be steady and slow. And I think under those conditions, he can outrun his 10-1 odds, because on his best day with his best numbers, he's not better than these, but he's as good as most of them. Let's put it that way. I respect the bond. I respect the price. So I'm going to go with number 12, Zavero, as a price play. And there are several in here that you can make a case for in what looks to be a wide open edition of the Virginia Derby.
Yeah, some horses that people may know in here. Fulmineo won the Jimmy Murphy on the Preakness undercard. Grandmo the first, of course, a Kentucky Derby alum, third in the Florida Derby and Tampa Bay Derby. He's back on the turf, and that's the best surface for him, so he's going to fit better here. Deterministic, the horse who got through the Naira path towards the Triple Crown. Gotham Wood Memorial Performer won the Gotham. He sort of found a home on turf for Christophe Clement. I mean, all Clements end up finding their way to the turf eventually, it seems like, but deterministic, no great pedigree necessarily for the turf, but his run in the Manila and the Saratoga Derby Invitational were promising enough to be competitive in this particular race, right? This is certainly not a tougher spot than when he faced Carson's Run last time out in Legend of Time. So deterministic with a little drop in class would certainly fit in this particular spot. Shug McGahee won this race last year. He comes back with a horse, Frontline Warrior, in here, trying to do it 2 years in a row. Wide open edition of the Virginia Derby. I really don't have any strong opinion in this one at all. So Zverev is Jeff's top pick on the outside for trainer Cherie DeVaux. We'll just piggyback him in the Virginia Derby. Let's go to Del Mar on Saturday, shall we? It's the next to last day, the penultimate day of the meet, if you will. Closing day on Sunday at Del Mar. They've got 3 stakes races on the program Saturday. It'll begin in race number 4 with the Del Mar Debutante. We'll also look at the Del Mar Juvenile Fillies Turf in race number 5. And then later in the card, the distaffers on the turf, the John C. Mabee. So excellent card on Saturday at Del Mar. And when you talk Del Mar Debutante, of course, you're thinking, where's the Baffert, right? Bob Baffert's one of Del Mar Debutante.
Where's the Baffert?
And, he's going to be well represented in this one. He's got Nooney in here, who is the 4-5 favorite. He also has Tenma in here, who was a high-priced $850,000 debut winner, but Tenma wasn't well backed in the debut at 6-1. So the public wasn't all in that day. You've got Tenma 4-1, second choice, third choice in the morning line. Vodka with the twist, the second choice in the morning line, ran second in the Sorrento last out behind Nooney. They went 1-2 last out. Let's take a look at the Sorrento Stakes, the local prep leading up to the debutante. Then we'll get your thoughts on how this one might shake out.
Leading it by half a length. Casalu's been there throughout. On the outside, Vodka with a twist, running a big one. And Vodka with a twist is coming to take them on. Even Night Beacon running courageously. They come for home. Nooney's finding more. Vodka with a twist down the center. Nooney on the inside. Vodka with a twist. Just can't get to her. Nooney going to go all the way. And Nooney and Juan Hernandez have won the Sorrento. Vodka with a twist, a very brave second. Then came Casalu and Night Beacon.
See the gallop out there, because this race now extends it to 7 furlongs. Nothing in the gallop out tells you that there's a big difference between these horses going 6 and 7 and stretching out from the Sorrento to the Del Mar Debutante. It looks like Nooney was simply best that day, and the extra distance may not help Vodka with the twist in here in the rematch. Do you see it coming back the same way, or maybe a new face, Jeff?
Well, probably the same way. I don't think there's a gamble here, though. 4-5 in the morning line. But the thing that I thought about Nooney is she looked like she had to work a little harder in that race than at a 1-2 shot should. Mm-hmm. The number was solid, nothing wrong there. And I was thinking that maybe, you look at horses and you expect them to continue to get better. Sometimes they get there and then they can start dropping off. So I was really interested to see how Nooney had trained since that race. And of course, we have workouts at XBTV. So just don't go by the times. Look at the visual, and maybe you get a better impression as to how she's doing. So that's what I did. And I got to say, Nooney looked good. I mean, I don't think she's tapering off any. So
okay.
She went last work was a team drill against a pretty nice horse, and Nooney was much best. So I expect her to win. The one intriguing horse to me in this race, though, is the bottom horse, Jack's Magic Girl, for a couple of reasons. First of all, she just won. She made her debut going long on the grass, and there's a stakes race for Fillies, junior Fillies, going long on the grass. Right. And I'm not sure why she's not in it, other than maybe she wouldn't have drawn in. I'm not sure. It was just a maiden win. She's trained really well on dirt, and her maiden win was really impressive. I mean, you go back and watch it on video if you can. I don't think she's good enough to win, but backing up and switching surfaces for a low percentage barn, I mean, no one's going to touch her. But I tell you what, this filly can run. I mean, and again, based on not only her race, but the way she breezed on dirt, she looked like a good filly, I'm telling you. And outside draw, she's obviously not going to be anywhere close to the pace. But if they go after that leader early, going 7/8, you might find a deep closer to do some damage here. So if you want to play pick 6 or a pick 4, whatever you're playing, find some room on your ticket for her. I mean, because if Nooney gets beat, it's likely to be from off the pace, and she might be that way. So I made her 8-1 in the morning line. Quite frankly, I think I undervalue. I mean, I think I made her too low. I mean, I think she'll be higher than that. If she is, toss her in somewhere.
Yeah, 2-7 exactly might be all right in here when you have the favorite. Yeah. Like you said, just stylistically, if Nooney runs her race, she runs the others off their feet, and then they're gassed, and those closers often come along for second in those particular spots. And if Nooney gets hooked and she gets beat, the way she's going to get beat is not by another front runner. They'll probably cancel each other out, and that sets it up for a closer as well. So maybe an upset with the 7 in here, Jack's Magic Girl, but certainly a 2-7 exacta, something that would be appealing in the Del Mar Debutante. If you're looking for a multi-race bet in this spot, if you want to take Nooney or another horse in a daily double, you can wheel right back to the 5th race, a big field in the Del Mar Juvenile Fillies Turf. Turf, race 5 on the card, 1 mile on the grass. Again, these are 2-year-old fillies going towards the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. This will be an important race, again, as we mentioned many times this summer, though, with the Breeders' Cup coming back. And with 2-year-olds, a lot of times I like the locals in the local races in the Breeders, or the locals in the 2-year-old races, East in the East, West in the West, Midwest in the Midwest when it comes to the Breeders' Cup. Traveling with 2-year-olds adds another element to it. So I like these 2-year-old races to be even more important when it comes to Breeders' Cup time at a host track like Del Mar when you have the preps running through there. So we're going to give this race a lot more consideration than we would say if the Breeders' Cup was at Keeneland coming up in the fall. The fact that it's at Del Mar makes it a race to certainly give extra consideration to. Field of 12, Jeff, how do you like them?
Thought Process was awesome in her recent maiden win. They kind of gave her a run, going 5.5 on the dirt. That's not what she wanted to do. She still ran all right, finished third, stretched out, came back and absolutely parked in a maiden race. Did it like a good filly. By collected, she's going to have speed, and I would suspect that she'll be from the 2-hole in the first flight, maybe even on the lead, depending upon how committed some of the others want. I would imagine Casalou will probably go as well. I think these are 2 potentially really good grass fillies, and I think this is a stronger than par race. And I think you're right, Jeremy. I like the locals here. There's a filly here coming in from England named Fonda's Dream for Richard Baltus. I really liked her maiden win first time out. It was 5/8 of a mile back in April of her 2-year-old season, and she, you wouldn't know it by just looking at the comments, but she came from last, and when she finally figured out what she was supposed to do, she really accelerated. But I don't know. I mean, she's trained well since she's gotten here, but she's going 2 turns off that 1 sprint back in April. And she's facing fillies that I think are really, really good. So I think down the road, Fonda Stream's going to be okay. But for me, it's Thought Process over Casalou. Good race, good competitive race, field of 12, couple of maidens in here that are maybe should be going against maidens that I still think are pretty good, but this is a tough. God, Phil D'Amato, I think, is got a really nice filly in this collected filly Thought Process. Should be tough to beat. I've got her the 8-5 or a 9-5 morning line favorite. I think that's probably where you'll land on.
She overcame post 9 of 9 last time, drawn well this time. Let's go back and take a look at that victory, her first on the turf.
And here comes Thought Process in the orange on the outside, moving up to take on the leader. Heads a turn for home. Lee's Baby Girl desperate to hold on. Thought Process breezed up to her though and has gone on by now. And it's Thought Process in full flight for the wire. Thought Process and Hector Berrios going to be easy winners in the end. They pull clear to win it by about 5 in the end. Second place finish will be Lee's Baby Girl.
Jeremy, I want to jump in real quick and say that in watching Thought Process in that race, before the race, I was wondering how she would react going a mile on turf after sprinting on the dirt. And I got to tell you, she ran in that race like a filly who would run 100 turf races. She dropped her head. She switched off. She relaxed. She just waited to give her cue. They asked her to run at the 3/8 pole. She went from, off the pace to on the lead at top of the stretch in a matter of an 1/8 of a mile, showing that acceleration, that turn of foot. And then when the jock took a hold, she said, okay, I'll slow down if you want to. She didn't really slow down, but I mean, she switched off. That filly is beyond her years in terms of experience. And I think she's going to be really, really good.
If she wins this one, I think she's going to set up as one of the horses to beat in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Historically, that's a race where the Europeans don't run as well as they do in the Colt race on Breeders' Cup Day in the Juvenile Turf. And Juvenile Fillies Turf, we're always over-betting horses out of the Jessamine at Keeneland. They never seem to fire back. So this is a race ripe for a horse from Del Mar, from the West Coast, to have some success this year, I think. And she could be the one. So let's keep special look at Thought Process, not only on Saturday, but then moving forward, if she runs as well as we think she will and visually look like last time, then I think she's going to be one of the ones for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Now, let's talk Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf amongst the elder mares. The Grade 2 John C. Mabee is race number 9 in the feature event on Saturday at Del Mar. 1 mile and an 1/8 out of the turf chute. They'll come down and take a left-hand turn, and then once around the turf course proper. Field of 7 in here, not the deepest group, but you've got some high-end quality. You've got Anisette, you've got Didia, 2 of the better turf mares in the country, one from the Midwest, and of course Anisette, the local. But we've seen Didia out here on the West Coast before, Jeff. She won the Rodeo Drive here last fall at Santa Anita. So we know she knows her way around traveling, and she's a good veteran for Nacho Correas, who this year at age 6 is about as good as she's ever been.
Yeah, I mean, I remember this mare. Obviously, we've seen her a lot, but she came out here and ran in the Rodeo Drive last October, and she faced Anisette that day. And I was always a big Anisette fan, and still am, obviously. But they met last year, and in watching that race, there was no doubt. First of all, I was shocked that Didia was as short a price as she was. I mean, she was even money, and I thought maybe it would be. Maybe even Anisette would be favored because she was a local filly. But Didia not only ran to her odds, she beat Anisette with authority. And now they meet again. Same situation. Didia with another road trip here. Not afraid to take on Anisette on her home ground. But Anisette, one thing about her, she is as thoroughly consistent as you can get. But that's the good news. The bad news is that her numbers have kind of remained the same. She really hasn't made any monumental move in terms of her speed figures between her 3 or 4 year old year. I'd love to own her, and usually the numbers that she earns is good enough to win graded stakes. But Didia's got a higher ceiling. At least she's proved to be. And this year, after winning the New York, she got beaten to Diana last time out, but still ran well. Again, a race that was won in gate to wire fashion. There was no pace on. Winner kept going. She is consistent as well. She's traveled well, and nothing wrong with winning 11 out of 18 lifetimes. She knows where the wire is. So as much as I'd love to see Anisette win, it's just if Didia shows up with the best race, it's better than Anisette's.
Here's was that matchup last year, the Rodeo Drive. Give you a chance to check that one out at Santa Anita. Of course, they'll match up on Saturday at Del Mar.
She'll have to chase down Didia as the field turns for home. Didia gets the jump on the outside. Stoic Luna. Closing remarks along the inside, and Anisette is cut loose between rivals. Juncture on the outside, but Didia has opened up a 2-length lead. Juncture and Anisette are both chasing. Didia, 1.5 lengths close to home, powerful throughout, and Didia wins the Rodeo Drive with plenty left in the tank.
All right, Jeff, let's talk about Sunday racing at Del Mar. Before we get to the Del Mar Futurity, want to remind folks the big handicapping tournament coming up Sunday that we have with Express Bet. It's the $300 Del Mar California Crown Betting Challenge qualifier. So for a $300 feeder tournament on Sunday, you could earn your way into the big money tournament coming up the end of September for the big buy-in, $6,000 to play in the handicapping tournament for the California Crown Betting Championship at the end of September. So you can qualify 3 weeks ahead of time for just a $300 entry fee and play your way into that $6,000 California Crown Betting Championship this weekend at Del Mar. It is on Sunday. Also on Sunday, closing day at Del Mar, everything must go. It'll be mandatory payouts in all the pools for the end of the meet. Then the traditional closing day feature at Del Mar, no matter what day of the week it is. It used to be a Wednesday when they had closing day at Del Mar. Now they're closing on the Sunday card. The Del Mar Futurity will wrap things up. And we talked about the debutante where you look for the Baffert, a 10-time winner. Baffert has won the Del Mar Futurity, Jeff, 17 times, not 10, 17. Of all the stakes races in the country and all of the stakes histories you look at, I don't know if there's another race where a trainer has won it 17 times. He has, and they're all since like the mid-90s too. It's not like over a 50-year run to win it 17 times. Baffert is well stocked, of course, in the Del Mar Futurity. From the top, he's got Getaway Car, he's got Gaming in this spot, and he also has Citizen Bull. So Baffert's got 3 of the 7 entrants in the Del Mar Futurity. It's almost a matter of which one do you like.
Well, I like Getaway Car, but the others that he has in this race, Gaming, debut winner by more than 5 with a buyer number that was only 4 points less than Getaway Car. He can run. Bottom horse Citizens Bull won first time out very impressively. Came back since then and outworked Gaming in a team drill and did it convincingly. But it's hard to go against Getaway Car. Curlin Colt won both of his starts by daylight. Neither one of them he really had to work that hard to win.
Right.
I'm not crazy about the rail, but he strikes me as a colt that pretty handy, that if for some reason he has to sit third, I don't think that'll bother him. He's more of a compact horse than you normally expect to see by a colt by Curlin, but very good athlete, very good mover, smooth action, easy action, fluid action. Doesn't even put out and gets from A to B really quickly. I can tell you that. So, I mean, again, not much of a gamble here, but it's always fun to watch the Futurity because you're always going to see a horse, usually a Baffert, that not only wins, but will get plenty of play in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And let's not forget, I keep reminding you, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at Del Mar, and already getaway cars 2 for 2. I think he'll probably make it 3 for 3, but he's going to have to work a little harder than most of the Baffert 1 to 5 shots that win this race, because there's some talent in this race. Of course, they also come from Baffert's farm. A couple other notes I want to mention. Brother Tony is a maiden, and see, this is the kind of colt that I would say I'd like this colt. Let's not do something stupid. Let's take some time. He ran against Gaming and he got absolutely, not only did he break bad, but he tried to make the gap leaving the start, gave away 10 lengths at least, still ran third, finished really well. That's a really good colt. I wish they would allow him to, to come back, get a maiden win, and come back maybe and run in the American Pharoah. And then if they want to take a shot at the Breeders' Cup, go ahead. But they throw him to the Wolves right here, right off that maiden win. And that's something that, as an owner, I would never do. Now, having said that, he'll probably go out and win by 10. And they'll say, see, manage your own horse. But I think if you want to use him in the exacta, he's another situation where maybe he lays back and makes one run, and away car puts away the speed, and here comes Brother Tony. This colt can run. I mean, he really can run, and I wouldn't be surprised if he hit the board. McKinsey Street is very fast. I think he's as quick as anything in the race. They're going to send him and not wait around for anybody, and I don't know, maybe he gets loose in the lead, but he's probably going to have to run better than he ran in his debut, although the 81 buyer is good. So we'll see. He got loose in the lead that day, and he's going to have some pace challenges. This is a stronger than average Del Mar Futurity, if for no other reason than that there's more than one good colt in the race, which is usually what you see. And there are a number of horses that I think are going to go out and win great stakes that are going to come out of this race.
One of the things I like about Brother Tony, you were talking about him and you kind of like give him a second look, is he ran August 11th, which was on the undercard of the Best Pal Stakes. So he's coming off the same break as Getaway Car, but he was back on the workout tab in 10 days, August 21st. Usually you're looking at a little 2 weeks, and it was the 25th until Getaway Car got back to the workout tab. He's ended up getting 3 workouts since that race, where Getaway Car has 2. And there's nothing wrong with the pattern for Getaway Car. I like the fact that this horse was doing so well after that debut race that he was willing to get back on the track and work hard 10 days after the race, and he's gotten 3 works in. He could make a nice move forward. I wouldn't be surprised if Brother Tony runs well in here. Getaway Car, Brother Tony, maybe the exacta that we're looking at in the Del Mar Futurity coming up on Sunday. Let's talk about another 2-year-old race, a set of races from around the country. Our express bet race of the week this week will be the Florida Sire Stakes Dr. Fager. It's race number 10 on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. We've got a $10 money back special on both of the Florida Sire Stakes. We've got one on the undercard, and then we've got the that being the Desert Vixen, and then the main event, the Dr. Fager for the Colts in race number 10. You can get my full analysis of that race, where one of the fastest 2-year-olds in the country so far is going in that one, rated by merit. If you didn't see his win July 13th in the career debut, it was something else. 92 Beyer speed figure, if that's kind of one of the measuring sticks you use for trainer Mike Yates. This is a really good one for St. Elias Stable of Vinny and Teresa Viola. So rated by merit, going to be the horse to beat, obviously, in the Florida Sire Stakes. Dr. Fager. I've got a long shot who could run second in there, hopefully, for the exacta play. So be sure to check out that race of the week analysis. Again, $10 money back special on both of those FSS stakes races coming up on Saturday. Also, one other Saturday note, if you're into the harness scene, and you should be this weekend, Scioto Downs has a big card. They've got 2 big stakes races, the Jim Ewart Memorial and the Charlie Hill Memorial. We've got $10 money back specials on both of those $250,000 harness races. Some first bet sponsorship and on-site activities going on. So if you're in greater Columbus, Ohio, get out to Scioto Downs on Saturday. Check out the harness action there. And if you're not around the local neighborhood, be sure to check in on your account and take advantage of that $10 money back special on the 2 big co-features Saturday at Scioto Downs. So a lot going on, Jeff, this weekend. I know you're getting ready for the wrap-up of the Del Mar meet. Then you get to take it easy for a couple weeks during Los Al. And then end of the month, we're 3 weeks away from Santa Anita, kicking it all off again.
That'll be a breath of fresh air. Not too many 12-horse fields, not too many 11-race cards. One less day of racing. I'm really looking forward to the fall meeting at Santa Anita. But again, it's always the same thing where you go there and you see a bunch of nice young 2-year-olds that haven't raced yet, are developing. That's fun. We have half of our races are on turf. That's my obviously favorite type of race, the grass. And we've got that California Crown Day the last Saturday of the month in September. And then on to the Breeders' Cup, which is not at Santa Anita, but it's locally. So a lot of horses will be here. It's good time of the year for Southern California racing fans, and good gambling ahead.
Well, thanks for tuning in for our handicapping this weekend. If you want more handicapping help from First Bet and Express Bet, Eddie Olczyk will have a hat trick video for Sunday's best bets on the card at Del Mar for closing day at Sunday. So be sure to check out Edzo's hat trick. And Scott Shapiro, our Kentucky expert, he's got his plays for all those money back special races coming up at Kentucky Downs. Kentucky Downs racing Saturday and Sunday this weekend. So check out Scott's blogs, news.first.com and at expressbet.com in the blog section to get Shapiro's picks for all those Kentucky races. Also check out he and Bailey Arbor on YouTube with their podcast as well. So we've got a lot of great coverage for you of the racing around the country and around the world. We go to Korea Saturday night for those 2 Breeders' Cup winning your in races as well. Jeff and I will be back on Tuesday to wrap it all up on the It's Official podcast. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the surf and the turf at Del Mar a couple more times before racing won't resume there until November. We'll talk to you Tuesday.